Por favor. Si usted no se sienta aquí, no comenzamos. Thank you for coming. This is the second meeting of the Hispanic Leaders Group this year. And we are thankful to have the possibility, the invitation we got from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to host this meeting here. And before we do anything else, I would like to introduce to you, maybe you don't know him, he's relatively new in St. Louis, Carlos Ramirez. Carlos with a K. Carlos with a K. He's originally from Chicago, but just came from Texas, and I want to personally and officially thank you for this great invitation. Carlos.
Well, thank you. As you said, I'm Carlos Ramirez. I'm the Executive Director for the Hispanic Chamber, and it's definitely our pleasure. I've only been here 2 months, and fortunately I've been able to attend both meetings, and so we're happy to have you here, and we look forward to, I'm sure there's other meetings we will intermix at, but welcome to the Technology and Resource Center, and please come back at any time, and if anybody would like a tour, let me know. I'd be happy to show you the other rooms, the facility we have, the boardroom, this is the seminar room. We have a visiting executive office as well as a computer lab, and the whole building is Wi-Fi. So if there's any needs that you may have for officing, check out our website, and we actually do have some facilities information there where you could rent the facility if necessary, or we're also happy to host the HLG here and other organizations. So please let us know.
Thank you, Carlos. Gracias, Carlos. And before we go into the more formal thing, I'm going to ask for all of you to do an auto-presentation. No advertising. All we want now is your name, your serial number. That's for you, Jaime. And who you represent, your affiliation. And we're going to start with Tony Maldonado here.
Hi, I'm Tony Maldonado. I'm a board member of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and mi casa es su casa.
That's it. No advertisement.
Well, you said no advertisement, and I'm good at advertising.
Meaning you were going to introduce other people.
Yes. This evening we have the pleasure of having two distinguished gentlemen from the city of Florissant who have taken their time and interest in the Hispanic community. The newly elect Mr. Tom Schneider, Mayor of Florissant. And Mr. Ben Hernandez, who is also a councilman on the board in the city of Florissant. Thank you for coming. Thank you for visiting with us. I hope you learned a lot of good things tonight.
Because I don't know who you are, but I'm going to tell you who you are. I'm Jaime Torres, a former chair of the Hispanic Leaders Group, and now a member of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and many other things. Nice to see you here.
And?
Oh,
let's go like this.
Okay.
I know there's another gentleman behind us.
After you. I'm Anne Nurson. I'm not representing any particular organization. I'm a former member or officer or whatever one says at the International Institute. I guess now I'm representing Lifelong Learning, which is a senior learning organization. But I have been very involved with the Hispanic community for a long, long time. So, and I'm a member of the organization.
My name is Jacqueline Noronha Leon, and I'm here for Brown Shoe and the Venezuelan Association.
My name is Steve Parks, and I'm here representing Ameren.
My name is Jorge Guerrero from the Ecuadorian Society and member from the Hispanic Leaders. Nice to meet you.
Evan Gott, I'm with the Nine Network, or KL9. You still are stuck on there?
I'm Maria Teresa Maldonado, I'm past chair of the HLG and current vice chair of Casa de Salud.
My name is Karen Oresti. I'm the regional director of the Anti-Defamation League for Missouri and Southern Illinois and a member of the board of the Hispanic Leaders Group.
My name is Lucy Carves, and I am from Farmers Insurance.
Good evening, my name is Omar Maldonado, and I'm with the Puerto Rican Society as well as a member of the Hispanic Leaders Group.
Hello, my name is Matt Dorsey, and I'm here with the Big 550 KTRS.
Hello, I am Claudia Herrera-Oli, and I work with Edward Jones.
Jorge Rio Pedro, Executive Director, Casa de Salud.
And I'm Anna Crossland, and I'm President and CEO of the International Institute, which works with about 7,000 foreign-born from 75 countries annually, just down the street. Cool.
You know who me already.
Take advantage.
Good evening. My name is Harold Brown, and I am the chairman of the Missouri State Conference and St. Louis City NAACP Political Action Committee.
I'm Gilbert Bailon with the Post-Dispatch.
I'm Janine Hilver with the Hispanic Festival.
I'm Joe Palm, through the grace of Governor Jay Nixon. I'm the chief of the Office of Minority Health for the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services. I'm also the committee man of the mighty 26th Ward in the city of St. Louis, just east of the U-City Loop.
Good.
Teenagers. Benjamin Deloy, I'm a pre-med student and volunteer at Casa de la Salud.
All right.
Carl Calvin, board member of the Hispanic Chamber. Oh, sorry, Carlos Trucha.
Carlos Trucha.
I'm Cristóbal Mauricio y represento el newspaper El Sol de San Luis.
All right.
I'm Cheryl Rose. I'm representing a bunch of organizations, the Missouri Commission on Human Rights, the Multicultural Task Force, and the Youth Diversity Education Committee.
Oh, he's with me. He's my son. It's Dave.
Hola.
Other people coming.
Other people coming in. Tony, you are going to do some introductions here.
Yes, I'd like to introduce some more distinguished guests that are walking around there.
Okay.
The gentleman up in the red shirt is Joel Flores. He is a boxing professional. He's here from Michigan for a April 29th bout here with at the Robert Austin Theater downtown. And the gentleman, slightly older, not that much older, with the white shirt, is his father and trainer and manager.
Okay, and then
Luis Martinez.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am totally delighted to have you all here, the House of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in St. Louis. I want you to think while you're sitting there that the membership to any of these organizations is a true reality. But I just, as a treasurer today for the Hispanic Leaders Group, want to give you a good report. We have money in the bank. Is that good or bad? Good, right?
Point of order. All I wanted you is to say your name.
Did I respond or what? Thank you for rescuing it.
Idalia McNulty from Molina Healthcare, and I'm the bad secretary of the Hispanic Leaders Group.
She's lying, that's it.
Dinora Marino, correspondent secretary for the Hispanic Leaders Group.
And I'm Guillermo Rodriguez, and I have the honor of sharing the Hispanic Leaders Group for this year. And we're going to do a formal presentation of Domingo, Sunday, before the day is over.
Sunday and Martin's Song.
Okay. Anybody else that has not been introduced? Okay, good. Now we're going to go to the Treasurer's report with Luis Martinez.
All right. So we have money in the bank, right? Why do I more you the detail? The details involve the following. There are over $3,500. We have two types of account operating on a scholarships account. And really the reality is that we'll be announcing a very strong fundraising campaign. The details will follow. But what it requires from us is to have a little more commitment from our members. So really that could mean so many things. But if in your energy, as in your passion, you find that it's good to work to create funding for a scholarship or two for some very college aspiring, hopeful Hispanic individual, we can do it, and we can do it together. And so about membership, I just want you to know that it's so simple. It only takes $15 for an individual to become a member, right? So if you're a non-for-profit, it's only $25. What about a small business? It's only $50. And we even have a category for a large business. So reasonable, it's $100. So please, encourage your employer, encourage anybody, including yourself, to just take that extra step and become a member. With that, thank you, and here's to you, Guillermo.
Gracias, Luis. Isn't he a great treasurer, you know? He only gave one number. That was a good number. Gracias, Luis.
You're welcome.
The chairman's report, all of you have an agenda. Basically, I just have like 5 or 6 points to let you know about. One is that the board of directors met this week and decided to amend the bylaws. The bylaws eventually will be submitted to the membership for ratification. The board felt that there were a number of issues or areas, clauses that needed to be updated or looked at in a different manner. So we did that. We are doing the final editing for style, and they will be published and sent to the members. So that's going to be done in the next 2 or 3 weeks. One of the things that happened with that, and for which the board is very happy, is that we were able then to look at our membership and identify potential candidates for the board. Right now, one of the big changes that we did in the bylaws was to increase the number of directors. Can you see me, or do I have to stand up? I'm okay? Okay. The cap for the number of directors was 9. We felt that we would be more effective if we were to have more active directors, and for that, the board approved to increase the number of directors in the board of directors to up to 15. That means that we can have 15, 14, 13, 12. At the present time, just before that bylaws was enacted, we have one vacancy, the vacancy that was created by the resignation of Cileia Miranda Yuen. And the board decided that we needed younger blood, more energetic people, and in so doing, elected Omar Maldonado to serve the term that will expire or end December 31st, 2012. And it's my honor and privilege to introduce to you, as a director of the Hispanic Leaders Group, the new one, the young Omar Maldonado. Thank you, Omar, for accepting this challenge.
Thank you for the honor.
And the honor goes with responsibilities. And he is now the chair of the scholarship committee of the Hispanic Leaders Group. The board also decided at its board meeting to offer 2 scholarships of $1,000. The press releases were sent out today. I'm sure that if you are in Somelao's or Jaime Torres' list, you will get it no later than tomorrow. And most probably it's going to be covered also in some of the newspapers. So again, these are for Hispanic students that are studying at the university that are living permanent residents in the St. Louis region. So it doesn't include, for example, somebody from Mayagüez, where I am from, studying at St. Louis University. These are for residents, permanent residents in the St. Louis region that are of Hispanic origin. The other thing that I have to mention is that, as you can see, this is our second meeting this year, and this is our second location. We still do not know where we're going to be meeting. The next meeting, we meet every second month, so the next meeting is going to be in June, and you will be all informed as to the location. We have met, as you probably know, previously at A.G. Edwards, at Brown Shoe, and we're happy that this time around we are here at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Metropolitan St. Louis. So we will let you know what the topic is and the venue where we're going to be meeting. One of the issues that will probably come about could be controversial issues. Things such as local control. of the police department. We have been approached by some people that want to come and speak to us. That doesn't address specifically Hispanic issues, but it affects everybody. My position, and I hope that it will be the position of the board, is to give equal time and opportunity for those that are also providing another look at the situation. So we would probably tackle the local issue in a panel discussion so that we can inform ourselves, just hearing from both, or I don't know how many sides are there, but I know of at least 2 sides, so that then you individually will be able to make a formal decision. I understand that that vote is going to be sometime in November.
No, it's going to be before the end of May.
Before the end of May?
Yes, before the legislative session ends. That's why I was coming to tell Omar. They have to, it's in the Senate right now.
No, but I mean for us, people.
I'm saying to you that the bill is in the Senate right now.
Right.
So we're gonna move, we
If
need
it
to
doesn't pass
move.
out of the Senate, then it may not be reintroduced.
I
I'm
see
just
what you
sharing
mean.
that with you.
Okay.
So you can adjust accordingly.
Oh, it's
Right.
still
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification. It's good to have somebody from Colombia here. No, Jefferson City. You are from Colombia. Okay. The other announcement is that the second annual Anthony B. Ramirez Premio Esperanza will probably be held, an event, at the early part of September. So stay tuned, we're going to tell you about it. The Premio Esperanza has been awarded for maybe 9 years now, but last year in a posthumous honor to Anthony B. Ramirez, creator, founder of the Hispanic Leader Group, it was named in his honor, in his memory. So you are also going to be hearing about this. That, we hope, will be an opportunity to raise some funds. But don't worry, we're not going to charge $100 or $125 to attend. But please try to attend, because it's going to be a nice event, and it's going to help us raise a little bit of money so that the treasurer can smile a little bit more.
He likes to have money
Yes.
in the bank.
And just a quick word to thank our donors, our donors.
Oh, exactamente, yes. Another thing, well, do that now.
Question.
So that I don't forget. Yes.
Guillermo, where do we get information or find information about the event?
Okay, this was the other thing here, is the website update. We have a website, www.hlgstl.com. Right now it needs, .org, organization. It needs some refurbishing. We need to update Omar Maldonado there. We need to update the information on the scholarship. And that will be done sometime. He told me Monday, but he's in Kiev now, having chicken Kiev with some vodka. This is Rafael Barron. Maybe he's asleep now. But he said that on Monday he would be able to update that. So it's www.hlgstl.org. Now, in addition to that, we send the information out. I know that Dinora has, I don't know how big her list is of members and guests, and I know that Jaime Torres also has a very extensive list. And the other thing that, just to piggyback on what Luis Martinez was saying, is that we have noticed that in our meetings, it's about a 50-50 distribution between members and non-members. And I just want to follow up on what he was saying, in the sense that, well, I mean, it's not that expensive to join. We think that we serve a purpose. And if you're here attending, it's because you also think that we are doing something that can help. Yes,
I
Anna.
have a question.
Yes.
Do you annually send out renewal notices, or is there is it a standard December 31 through, or whatever? Because I think it's difficult for some of us to know when the memberships expire, because we just don't have it in our heads. And so if there's a special date by which it expires every year, or there's a renewal notice, then I think you would up your memberships considerably.
And retention.
Right.
Yes, the year is a calendar year. It's not, the fiscal year is also the calendar year. And I'm going to have Dinora just address that a little bit, and I'm sure that Luis can also probably talk a little bit about that, Dinora. Dinora is the correspondence secretary.
Yeah, notices were sent earlier in January via email. So you should have received it.
What happens with many business addresses these days are that increasingly the junk mail filters are a higher and higher level. And I am finding a lot of my HCC and my HLG emails in my junk mail, for instance. And so I'm just saying that there are issues that may make it difficult.
So then maybe you should put in your contact list, you should add the HCC.
We do,
the
but
HLG.
somehow or another, every time a new address rolls up, then it's back in the junk mail again.
Yeah, I sent an email yesterday to a number of people. This is for the Council of Foreign Relations. We're going to have somebody talk about Germany and NATO and the U.S. And I sent it to the Consul of Germany here. And I got a response, because junk mail or whatever, you are not in my list. If you want to go into my list, you have to go to another place. So I know that
and
happens.
The other thing that's happening is if you send a group mail these days, even with addresses on it that are approved, because the other addresses in the group mail are not approved, then it's kicking it into junk mail at certain sites.
Yeah.
So it is not just your address, it's all of the addresses that are being copied, that are being checked by the system at that point.
Thank you, Anna.
That's
Yeah.
probably something that we can address with Rafael Baron.
Yeah,
Sure.
so I'm just raising these
Yeah.
issues because I think that these are
I completely
all things
understand.
that we're trying to,
Sure.
overcome to try to be able to get the mail and deal with it.
Thank you. Steve, you want to say something?
I would suggest too that at the meetings, you might want to pass on this and have people check if they intend to be members. So
We have a list out there, Carlos Trucha.
Yeah, there's a list out there, and it says member.
He didn't say.
It says member or non-member.
Okay.
But I don't, people are not members, but they want to be members. They probably didn't know which to check. So if you.
We put another column there for the next time.
But what I'm saying is, check that list, and the ones who intend to be members, some of them probably haven't paid because of things like this.
That's a good point.
And then you can remind them that if you're on that list and you haven't paid, make sure you pay.
Thank you, that's a good point. Yes.
Manage. Have somebody there, if they're not a member, would you like to be a member?
Jacqueline, you know what happens when people come with great ideas?
They recruited.
You're going to see her the next meeting doing that.
She's good.
I mean, people will gravitate and talk to you or just whatever. I'm not going there. Okay, great suggestions.
So who we give our membership to? Money too.
Money too. Don Luis.
I take all the money. Okay, wow.
Ay,
Please welcome our newest paid member.
She's a returning member.
Returning member.
Mrs. Cheryl Rose.
Well,
Thank
is
you.
there,
Yes.
is there a way to know? I mean, I don't know if I paid this year. I didn't get it.
I take an action item for us to look at all the lists with
Because
the
Luis-
corresponding.
I know I
Because Luis has a list, right?
Oh, I'm sure I do.
Luis has the list. No. We'll work on it. Thank you.
That's
Okay,
911.
Luis, you wanted to thank those that helped us tonight with some goodies.
We want to recognize.
Repiete.
I want to recognize, especially knowing that the mayor of Florida is here, two great businesses. Not only are they Hispanic, but they truly represent what being a good business owner might be like and what it is to be in business for so many years. Without any further ado, here is number one, Las Fuentes, a proud member of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, 3 locations in San Luis. So there's no excuse. You can go to Florida, you can go to South County, you can go anywhere and enjoy that great cuisine. They're there to definitely shine as far as making the best cuisine of the Mexican area. And then we also had number 2, Pueblo Nuevo. How about that? Located in 270 and Limber. A wonderful little cozy place. If you go at the right time, you get to enjoy great music. So please patronize this business because they're really very gracious to donate some of their food. And now the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, obviously, we are very honored to have this location and have the beverage provided by them as well. So a round of applause to that business.
Thank you, Luis. Before we go to the program, anything that you might want to bring to the fore? Otherwise, yes.
We will host a future meeting if you
Oh, wow.
The lights will be on at Amaranth for one of our next meetings, so you will know about this. Thank you very much. Yes.
Is there going to be time for announcements at the end, or?
Sí, sí. And I just saw the honorary consul of Peru. No longer. You're still honorary. You are still from Peru.
Emeritus.
Rosa Schwartz. Welcome. Gracias. Anybody else that came? I know you, but I forgot your name.
Yeah.
How many of you remember the Three Stooges?
You remember that?
I remember that. You are the closest I have been to somebody famous. Introduce yourself.
I'm Jim Singer, and I'm here. I've been invited here by Jaime, and we just met last week on the phone. I'm working with some outreach programs through our church that involves reaching out to refugees. And my role, I try to help them find work here in St. Louis, and I kind of dig around and look around for places for them to get started. And that's why I'm here to discuss with Jaime a little later.
What is the name of your organization?
Yeah, what's the name?
Well, we're called, I go to the Crossing, Windsor Crossing, and the name of the group is the Rafiki Group, but basically we're just an outreach program, and Rafiki in Swahili means friends, and that's what we are, and that's what we do. We reach out to the refugees. We work with another church in St. Louis that really introduced us to their program, and we work with the International Institute, and we try to help in various ways. We walk with families. I try to help them get clothes and furniture. I've also worked with Oasis, which is how I met Jaime, through somebody that works with them to get some of these things. And my gift is talking. I've been in broadcasting for 39 years, so it's easy for me. And I really feel called to help people that are just coming here get work. When you're in the radio business, after 39 years, you know how to look for jobs because they always come and go in that business. So I'm using my learned skills from that area to help other people. So.
And I met you at Webster University, and why did I do this thing?
Yes, because, well, you want to know that too? Okay. Well, it's an infamous tag, but my great uncle was Joe Besser, one of the Three Stooges.
Whoa!
Yeah, he wasn't the most popular one. And unfortunately, my grandmother looked just like him. But I do work at Webster University too, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
My pleasure.
I'm Mary Beth Luna. I'm with U.S. Senator Roy Blunt's office. This is the second meeting I've been to. So I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm going to try to come as much as possible, and I'm really glad to be here for this presentation tonight. So I just want to introduce myself. Thank you.
Welcome. Very good.
Matt.
Josh with you with the mayor's office. Obviously came for the census.
With the mayor's office, the city of St. Louis.
Yes, indeed. Mayor Francis Lake.
The Honorable Francis Lake. Okay, thank you. Bertie? Where's Bertie? Eda. Who are you?
Me llamo Eda Berti. I am Eda Berti from Peru. Señor Martinez, old friend. And I work for a community language school. I'm the director of the school. And I'm here with Rosa, my friend, and with all of you.
Thank you. Announcement we're going to do at the end, but for now, he came from Colombia, and it is 7:10. It's a little bit late. Oh, yeah.
North, south.
But Domingo Martinez Castilla, He's the director of the Cambio Center at the University of Missouri in Columbia. He has been involved, salud. He has been involved in the Cambio de Colores, Change of Colors, Latinos in Missouri annual statewide conference since its inception and was co-chair in 2004, Gateway to a New Millennium, the meeting that took place here in St. Louis. He's interested in the process of integration of immigrants and in comparative immigration studies in the Americas. The Cambio Center, University of Missouri, MISU, was established in October 2004 by the University of Missouri to fulfill the following objectives. 1, to contribute to the university's mandate to provide education and enhance the welfare of all residents of the state of Missouri in the context of the dramatic demographic changes that are occurring. Also, to develop a premier source of knowledge, scholarship, outreach, and education following the land-grant mission model. Also, to support sustained research to understand the immigration process. To provide knowledge and best practices to facilitate a smooth integration of economically vulnerable newcomers to Missouri and the Midwest, and prepare all citizens for a diverse society. And last but not least, to provide an institutional scholarly base to extend the Cambio de Colores initiative beyond the scope of the annual conferences. We have known Domingo for a number of years. Yes, he's from Peru, that's a good thing. And we have Domingo Martinez Castilla to tell us something about implications of the census. And he's going to explain why he's not going to talk about implications only. Domingo.
I didn't prepare very well this presentation because I'd rather have some Q&A afterwards to see what we're trying to do. I am going to talk a little bit of whatever information the census has already offered in terms of reports that they are bringing. So, and I'm going to put first a little, this table actually is an actual copy of the second brief that the Census Bureau has published after the 2010 conference. The first brief was an overall view of the growth of the nation, and the second brief was specifically dedicated to the growth of the Hispanic population. So you can see how important is this. And it is important because it is changing. It is changing everything. I'm going to try to raise more questions than answers for you to work with. So there are a few things here this is just a number of, this is the table as it is presented, but here we do have some of the critical numbers, the total population in 2010 compared with 2000, and the number of Hispanics from 35 million to over 50 million now in 10 years. So the growth of the Hispanic population, 43%. Wow. Compared with 9.7% for the overall population. If we compare this with the non-Hispanic group, so you have 43%, this 9.7% growth is 43% coming from the, 43% is the growth in the Hispanic population, 4.9% is the growth of the non-Hispanic population, all of it, and 1.2% is the growth of the white non-Hispanic population. Okay, this is very important to bear in mind these numbers. Not we will talk a little bit about that. And then you do have, as I already mentioned, I always talk before my little gadgets kick in, but that is those are the numbers that we have to work with. Some of these numbers are important. For instance, for this 50 million is important for many people that market aggressively to the Hispanic people. So every one of these numbers has an importance to different people. Okay? And I guess that you will have to realize what I am interested in. I am interested in the welfare of the state of Missouri 20 years down the road. Yes, so what do I have to do as a policymaker, for instance, to do that? So what is going on here? What do we have to do regarding education, labor development, marketing? Every person has a different read on this. And I will mention several examples as we go forward. So now, basically, I have extracted those numbers there, and this is the information that I guess it's of interest to everybody. 50.5 million people of Hispanic descent. What it is a Hispanic regarding the census? I mean, the census defines a Hispanic as any person that defines themselves as Hispanic. Okay, that's it. You don't have to have a name or a surname or anything like that. If you define yourself as Hispanic, then you are. That's it. They have no other way of doing that. And actually, it's the same way they do it with African American, Asian American, or whatever. You define yourself however you want to be defined, and that's it. This is 16.3% of the nation's total population, but this is just a figure because, I mean, we may have all these people in one state, and it wouldn't mean too much, but we'll talk about that later. And this is important. 15 million Hispanics added in that 10-year period. And that's a 43% growth. And the total US population has grown by 9.7%. I am going to talk very briefly and very fast. I do have way too many slides here, and I won't go through all of them. But let's see what it is behind the numbers. And let's try to understand several things. Why is the population changing? Okay, we need to understand why is that thing happening. Okay, we will have opinions from people that say it's an invasion from Mexico, all the way to people that say that Hispanics are very loving people, so they have many children. Or anything in between, okay? Then the population changes. Who are the components of these changes? The age groups, and I guess, in my case, this is one of the most critical things that we have to bear in mind when we make decisions regarding the future of our communities, of our states, and of our nation. I may have been born in Peru, but I am a citizen from Missouri. And I think about Missouri as my place. Okay? It's as mine as anybody else's. And I am very worried about what our state will do for our children and for our children's children. I am not too worried about what is going on with me now. I am, the hill is just going down now. But I have to worry about the kids. Which kind of society I am living to my kids and to the kids of my kids. That is something that we should all, I'm not talking about Hispanics. I'm talking about Missourians should worry about. What are we doing for the welfare of our kids? What are we doing so our kids can live in a peaceful and good society? And then I will mention a little bit about the Midwest and the New South. This is the map also that I found today at noon. It's a copy of a census map, and it represents the percent changes in population from 2000 and 2010. Okay, the purple areas, the dark purple represent declines of population all the way from 10 to 46%. Okay, and these are counties. So the counties in dark purple represent the places in which the population has declined between 10 and 46%. Okay, think about it. The light purple, or how do you call that color? Violeta? Okay. Represent a decline from 0.1 to 10%. So it's also a decline. So those places that are in that color actually have less people in 2010 than they had in 2000. Okay? This really light green The line represents the colors that are above the line are the places that grew faster than the average, which is 9.7%. And this one below represent the colors that grew, represent growth rates that are lower than the national average. So you do have this concentration of people going to some places, Western Colorado, for instance, these counties you have, and this is not Hispanic, this is the overall population, okay? We don't have yet a similar map only for Hispanic populations for the 2010 census, but I am sure that it will come up soon. But just notice that what is going on here is that we have a huge area of places, a huge number of places or counties, because it's a county map, that have a population decline. Okay? Why is it? There are two main reasons why population declines. One is outmigration, so people are leaving some areas, especially rural areas, and the other one is just that the number of deaths, the number of births and immigrants does not compensate the number of deaths. Okay? But this is very important to remember, okay? Because this is one of the reasons why the population changes. So why do people migrate? We have many reasons, but today the most important reason, without any doubt, is labor supply and demand. So it's not an invasion, it's not refugees, it's not any concept like that. It's a very market-oriented migration. You have labor supply on one side, you have labor demand on the other side. What you have when you have a supply and demand of anything, including labor, is you have a flow of goods or production factors of capital or anything like that. That is what happens. It's always happened. It's happened. This nation was built on the basis of labor supply and demand from different countries, from different areas, but that is it. And today, that is the main reason. It's not religious persecution, it's not any of that. It is labor supply and demand. There are some other relative things. Wealth disparities. If you have a rich country neighboring a not so rich country, you will always have flow of people. You have it always here. You have had it from Mexico to the U.S. You have it from Guatemala to Mexico. You have it from Nicaragua to Costa Rica, from Bolivia to Argentina, from Peru to Chile, and from Paraguay to Brazil, and from Africa to Spain, and so on and so forth. So there is nothing special about it. So why is it that we don't have too many Norwegians being illegal immigrants here? Because it's a little difficult to get all the way here from Norway. And we don't have too many wealth disparities with that. So you have also opportunities for improvement. How many of us know what are the reasons why immigrants come here? How many of us have talked to immigrants? We, all of us, and when I say all of us, I mean all of us have an opinion about this issue. How many of us handle facts about this? Okay? Ignorance is not a sin. But acting on ignorance, that is a sin. So when you first promote a change or promote legislation or promote some measure without knowing the facts, that is bad. Okay? And the problem is that we don't have enough information about these individuals. Freedom, of course, many places, people ran out of places to look for freedom. Then you have survival, war, famine, and many other things. And love, health, creativity. For instance, many people migrate to New York, like they migrated to Paris 100 years ago because that's where the creation were, and so on and so forth. So we do have many reasons, but this is the one in yellow is the one that we should remember most. What about this one? How many of you were born in the U.S.? How many of you were born in Missouri? Okay. So how many of you
In a colony of the U.S.
I won't qualify that. But you see how many of you have parents? How many of you are first or second generation people in the U.S.? So either your parents are born outside or you were born outside. Most of us. How many of you have children born in the U.S.? How many of you have children born in Missouri and St. Louis? You see? Did you see the difference?
Grandkids.
Okay, grandkids. Well, that's, I don't want to go there. But what I mean is, I'm asking for those hands so you realize that this group of people, you know, heavily Hispanic in Missouri, is very new. But at the same time, when I ask about how many of you have kids, you are changing the composition of the younger population. Those people are the ones that will be the captains of corporate America in the future. They may be the farmhands, they may be the teachers, if we work for them to be just that. We, of course, can do with the new immigrants, just put them aside and pretend that they don't exist, except when a roof leaks or something like that happens. But I always ask for people to put themselves into somebody else's shoes and to try to understand what is going on in every one of those persons that are here. In Missouri, we have approximately 200,000 and 250,000 Hispanics, and some estimates say that around 50 to 60,000 may not be properly documented. Okay? So that means that we have 60,000 people that don't have documents. That's a lot of people, and it happens in every state. So what do we do about it? We pack them up and send them back to wherever they came from? We have to think about it. We have to think about things that we hear in the media. You know, the illegal immigrants committed crimes. Okay, how many crimes committed illegal immigrants? Tell me, number. How many? Nobody knows how to say that. How many immigrants are responsible for this and for that? And we hear information about that they cost the state. Okay, that's good. Tell me, how much? I am a taxpayer. I want to know how much they contribute in taxes and how much they steal from the community. Let's make the balance. Yes.
And also we have, I like to share with something because there's a lot of people that's no immigrant and it's no illegal either. This for about 14 years, they not even have a permit to go to his country because the state is not working. And
yeah, no, that's we do know that thing. We know that the immigration system does not allow a flow of immigrants that may be adequate to the labor supply and demand needs. We know that, and that is the reason why we have that. But independently of that, think about this. People, all of us are here. Some of us came with documents, some of us came without them. And what are we today? What are our intentions? What do we want for our lives, for our children, and for everything else? Okay. So this is then a fact that most Latinos are not. Most of the growth of the Hispanic population or Latino population today is not from immigrants. It is from children born here. Okay? So second generation, that is the main contributor to the growth of the Latino population in the U.S. now. That has changed. It used to be immigrants, not anymore. These tables are not from the 2010 census because the 2010 has not yet released its data by age groups, okay? But everything else, before we got into these tables, I should add that every number that the 2010 census has produced regarding Hispanic population shows that the census estimates before the census, the 2010, were actually undercounted people. Okay? So that is a fact. So these basically, all these numbers, when we mention Hispanics, it is very likely that the census will show even more than what it is here. I told you that the best way to understand what the future brings here, and not what is the present, but I'm thinking about the future, is an understanding population changes. This is the Midwest population. I'm working a little bit on the Midwest. The Midwest being that swath of land that goes from Kansas to Ohio, north and east. Okay, so Kansas, North Dakota, Ohio, and Indiana. Okay, that square, 12 states. And these are the population changes between 2000 and the estimates of the census of 2009. What do you see here? What is happening with the population under 19 years of age? It is increasing. Okay? That's the absolute number. This is not Hispanic, this is everybody. Okay? What is happening with the prime working age population from 20 to 44? It's declining. Think about that. Who's going to be at our schools? Who's going to do the hard work? Okay? And what is happening with the population from 45 to 64 years of age? That's us. Proud members of the baby boom generation. We're going to dominate the world. So we better find somebody to work for and pay Social Security for our own sake. Okay? So that is the baby boomers. Think about how this translates to whatever activity you are in the world, in terms of labor, in terms of education, in terms of investment, in terms of readership for newspapers or whatever. Think about this, what this means. Yes?
I'm sorry, did you say this is the estimate or this is the result?
No. These are official estimates on the census.
Oh, up to 2009.
Up to 2009. We don't have yet the information by age group for the 2010. That may be coming up in May and June. And this will be more dramatic. Yes?
Well, I think the national numbers are really interesting. I think the dramatic
We have some numbers
that are going to have some impact are the Missouri numbers and the MSA numbers.
Well,
And so
we'll see.
are they out now? I guess that's,
No,
are the
but
Hispanic
the
numbers
only
out by
numbers that
state
have
and
come
MSA?
out, the only
Are the
numbers-
general chart that you showed us, right?
Okay, the only numbers that the census has issued so far are called the public law numbers, which have to do with apportionment, and that is the reason why Missouri will lose one representative in the
When
House.
do you think that the numbers by state and MSA, et cetera, will start coming out?
I believe it's in May and June.
May and June?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now I am going to do a trick, okay? And I'm going to split every one of those columns. Well, as usual, I already talked, but my circles are showing now. But what I will do now is to split those columns into the two census categories, Hispanics and non-Hispanic. The census invented those categories. We didn't. Okay? I tell people that I came to Missouri in '81. Rosita, do you remember me when I was a young student? And at that time I was Domingo Martinez. So like 15 years later, I learned that I was a Hispanic.
I can relate.
And I am a Hispanic. I don't have a problem with it, but I didn't know that I was such a thing. Well, I used to be Domingo Secas and. Okay, this is what we should start to understand looking at the future. Okay? Every column that we had before has been split into non-Hispanic and Hispanic. So in the group, this is also the Midwest, okay? In the Midwest, what is happening? The population from 0 to 19 has declined by over 1 million kids. Okay? This is very worrisome, for instance, for universities. Where are we going to get our students? Okay? Who is going to do the work in the future here? And the population of Hispanics has grown and partially compensated that decline, but not as much as to overcome it completely. But this is the Hispanic population under 19, and this is the non-Hispanic population under 19. So we're talking about components of growth here. We're talking about the future shape of our society. What's happening in the prime working age group? So the people that do the hard work in our society. Look at this column. This is from 20 to 44 years of age. The non-Hispanic population has declined by, now I remember to put my little circles. Yeah. Okay. Has declined by nearly 1.5 million less able young workers in the Midwest. Okay? And that has been partially compensated by people coming from somewhere else, usually immigrants, and most of them Hispanic. So in terms of numbers then, the population under 45 years of age in the Midwest has declined by 2.6 million. And this number will be bigger when the census numbers are released. Okay? And the population of Hispanics has grown by 0.9 million. So there is a deficit of young people anyway. This is very important to bear in mind. Very important. This is the future. The future is not driver's licenses or anything like that. The future is what are we doing to allow these young people to be true Missourians, true Midwesterners, true contributors to society. Every one of them. Are we doing anything? Or are we killing the goose of the golden eggs? This is Missouri, that you were interested. So in Missouri, it happens the same thing in different proportions, but it's exactly the same situation in every single state of the Midwest. Okay? So you have a decline of the non-Hispanic younger groups, and you have an increase in the Hispanic population. Missouri has a relatively low number of Hispanics, but look at the growth of the older segment in Missouri. So who is going to do the work that these baby boomers that are going to retire or are retiring, some of them already, used to do? 83.4 million people aged 0 to 19 in 2009. And between 2000 and 2009, the non-Hispanic people aged from 0 to 19 in the nation have decreased by 1.7 million. In the nation. All of it. Including Alaska, Hawaii, New York, everywhere. And the Hispanics in that age group have grown by 4.7 million. We're talking about, in the case of, I guess that, yeah, we're talking about the younger age groups, okay? Today the census tells us that all Hispanics have increased by 15.5 million people. I said dollars. Okay, these are the numbers in the U.S., just the same thing that I showed to you. So you do have the total change. This is not working. Okay, this is the non-Hispanic, and this is the this is the total change of the population, and this is the non-Hispanic change and the Hispanic change for all the nation, the different age groups. Okay? So basically what we see is that the increase of the older population, which is here, 14 million people are non-Hispanic of the population above 45 years of age. Okay? So basically the bulk of the population, the non-Hispanic population, is getting older. And the Hispanic population is partially compensating the decline in the different age groups in the nation. Actually, it's more than compensating. In this case, you have a decline in the non-Hispanics of 1.7 and an increase in Hispanics of 4.7 million people. That is significant. It's inescapable, okay? Well, I got my circles, of course. This is the last map that the census produced with the 2009 estimates, or 2008 estimates, with the growth of Hispanic population in different regions, in different census regions. So you can see how big this is in the Midwest and West and South. It is very important. And it is important because in the South, we're not talking about Florida and Texas. We're talking about the Carolinas. We're talking about Tennessee, okay? Arkansas, Oklahoma. What they call now the new Hispanic South. These are the numbers in the Midwest, so I want to go back to those. These are the numbers in Missouri. So the population of 0 to 19 has declined by 31,000 in the 0 to 19, and the Hispanics actually have increased by 38,000. So what it's telling you is that even though the Hispanic population in Missouri may be only 3% approximately of the total population, in terms of youth groups and in terms of change, look at this and draw your own conclusions. Not in the sense of what is going to happen to us with all these Hispanic kids. They are kids, okay? So whatever happens to them is our job. If we mess up, it's our fault, it's not theirs. Always remember it. I always tell people that if our kids are not better than we are, then we didn't do a good job. We have to be better than we are. Okay, so you have this thing going on in every state of the Midwest and in many other states of the other regions. I don't want to dwell too much on this, but some key concepts that we have to remember is immigration and immigrants. Okay, those are two different concepts that usually are overlapped, and that is something that I find, for instance, in our political process in many states like Missouri or Oklahoma. They mix both things, in the sense that the federal government doesn't do what it's supposed to do regarding immigration. So what do? We punish the immigrants. Okay. If you come to think a little bit about that, it doesn't make any sense. Because the immigrants are bringing jobs, they are consumers, they are paying taxes, because everybody pays sales taxes, and many of them pay to the Social Security under somebody else's name. I'm talking about the undocumented, and so on and so forth. And but we do have that thing, you know, and that is not right. It's like punishing every Catholic believer for the sins of the priests, of some priests. Just imagine that. So the priests may commit some sins, and we go after who? We go after the believers, of the church-going people. For me, that's equivalent to that. We're going to the most vulnerable because we don't want to face the most powerful. Then we have refugees and migrants, which are different, and I guess that we understand that. independently of how poor, how miserable, whatever you want to think about of the immigrant, usually immigrants move with their own free will. Okay? Refugees are pushed away, and we do have a duty of seeing after refugees. But with immigrants, we don't have that duty. But if we don't do anything, we may be again working to a not so perfect union in the future. And then we have pride and prejudice. Those actually, I grabbed this from a presentation I did to Hispanic students. It's okay to be proud of your heritage. I don't know. I don't think. I personally don't feel proud of anything in which I had nothing to do. Okay. I feel happy when I have my food, when I have my music, when I have my people, but I tend to feel proud of the things that I have accomplished or that I have helped to accomplish. So in that sense, I'm very careful about that. So many people think about the power of pride, ethnic pride. Well, it's okay. If you want to be proud of it, that's okay. When I was a kid in Peru, I used to be proud of having really high mountains. I didn't miss my mountains. I love the landscape. But feeling proud of them, we didn't put them there. Okay?
No, you're in Missouri, that is.
Yeah, so, and that is one thing I always underline, and I think that we have to make our kids proud of what they accomplish. And then we have the crime and punishment. What is the crime of immigrants? There's no crime in being an immigrant, illegal or otherwise. It's not a crime. It never was in this nation. And actually, there is almost no nation in which undocumented immigration is a crime. It is a civil thing. Okay? So, accordingly, the punishment, if we want undocumented immigration to become a crime, let's make it a crime in Washington, where they make the laws. Okay? But right now, it's not. It's never been. So, we have to be mindful of those things that people want to do. So this is another thing that I put to my students, So, okay, so we have so many Hispanics now. Oh, it's big, it's beautiful, we're now everywhere, or yeah, I like to be the first minority. It's the same thing, what it is to be the first minority. Is it good? Is it bad? It's nothing. It's just a number. And I can't speak Spanish, and that's okay now. We're visible. Many of these things are true and are important, but I guess that we shouldn't dwell on those. So it is a matter of personal opinion and perception what it is. So let's draw this whole thing and actually let's rephrase that and let's think how can we help in building. Oh, I put
Meeting.
I was typing this at noon today. In building solid bridges. That is an important concept that we have to bear in mind between newcomers and long-time residents. If we want a more perfect union, we have to make sure what we do as individuals, independently of being Hispanic, non-Hispanic, Asian, or whatever you want, and understanding also the receiving community, and vice versa. Okay? We have to understand that. If we find that somebody does not like us or does not like me, it hasn't happened to me. I am very likable. But if somebody doesn't like me because I am Hispanic, that is not my problem.
And if they beat you up?
It is not,
If they beat you up, what happened?
Oh, that I go to the police. And I tell the police, this person beat me up, let's put him in jail. That's it. Those are the laws.
If you leave.
I can go out saying, it's a race crime and all that, but I won't do it unless I have some evidence that that person is hitting me because I am Hispanic. If I don't have any evidence of that, I would assume that just a nuthead doing that. But what I mean is, I think that is something that we need to understand. We need to understand that everywhere you have two human beings of different persuasion that don't know each other, they will always distrust the other. Always. It doesn't matter if it's white, black, or green. When I grew up in my little town, in the middle of the Andes, there used to be a mine company, which today it has become linked to Missouri. After all those years, it used to be a Cerro corporation, large corporation, and there used to be a little area in which they had all the American engineers there, and we didn't trust them because they were different, because they didn't speak our language, because they played golf at 12,000 feet of altitude, and things like that. So you didn't trust them because, or they didn't know how to dance, and things like that. So you develop prejudice because they are different, okay? And of course, those engineers didn't want to integrate. They just wanted to work there and then go back. But what I mean is that this happens everywhere. Everywhere. It doesn't have to do with race. I have worked in Kenya and I have seen how bad intertribal groups hate each other for thousands of years. I'm talking about 10, 20 years. So you have, but somehow they manage to live neighbor to each other, close to each other. But they are different and they distrust the other. So what we have to do then is develop trust. If we are planning for these immigrants to be a good part of our state, we have to develop trust in both sides. A bridge needs to be built from both sides. You cannot bridge from one side, you cannot make a bridge from one side and impose it on the other. You have to have plans and understanding, and then you meet in the middle. So this is the question that I put here, that we need to understand the majority. We need to understand what is called the majority or the receiving community. We need to understand why they distrust newcomers. And also we need for the newcomers to understand the receiving community. And for that we need to understand them. Very little research is done with immigrants and with receiving community perceptions of immigrants. Being at a university, we do that. So we're trying to understand that, so we can help both sides to understand each other. Looking for big changes. This is very important. Latinos are moving to relatively new areas. So the largest growth, the most, I don't know the largest in numbers, but the most, the growth that has more impact in society is the arrival of immigrants to rural areas and small towns. Okay, in St. Louis, if we have 1,500 immigrants moving here, it may be a little hard work for the International Institute and other things that work with them, but the city somehow can manage. We work mostly in rural areas in our center at the university, and we think about the small towns in Missouri, like you may have not heard about. Monet, Missouri, Kenneth, Missouri, California, Missouri, Marshall, Milan, and Noel, Missouri. Noel is an example that I always bring. That is the farthest you can get in Missouri. Okay? It is in the southwest corner of Missouri, way down there. It is almost Oklahoma, it is almost Arkansas. And that town used to be a poor town. It is still a poor town. I mean, lots of poverty, but it was also almost absolutely totally white until 30 years ago. So poor white people living in rural areas. Today, the school of Noah, Missouri is 50% Hispanic. 50% Hispanic. What is our state doing to help the integration of Hispanics and non-Hispanics there?
Yeah.
That is also a rhetorical question. So most Hispanics that come to the interior of the country then are fully employed. Nobody will move to Monet, Missouri, just to see what is going on in the corner. That is another thing that we have to bear in mind. If you're moving to those hard places, it's because you're ready to do hard work. Okay? And they do pay taxes. Many Latinos now are coming with their families and becoming fully settled. So the old immigration of individuals, usually young individuals that came to work at the meatpacking plants, and in the weekends actually they made a big problem because, I mean, with all that hormonal, supply on weekends in a small town, hello. So what's happened, and that actually alienated some of the receiving community, and rightly so. So there was a movement in the meatpacking industry to bring families instead of individuals. So you do have those families. So that helps a lot, but it brings different problems. For instance, the isolation of women. Extremely isolated. The men at least have that networking at the workplace, but the women are very isolated, and that has other consequences that we need to understand. So the growth in population then is really important if you see it from this perspective. Latinos are coming to work for the state of Missouri, for the state of Iowa, for the state of Kansas, Oklahoma, North Carolina, South Carolina, Minnesota, Iowa, everywhere. They are young, they have large families, and they work hard. In that sense, I don't think I am a Hispanic. I don't work that hard. They do work hard. Okay? So he's already clapping. So, well, these are different things that, in terms of Chamber of Commerce, you already know. So there are some catering needs of this population that, and nobody has more advantages to cater to that population than other Hispanics. But actually, that's not a guarantee. What you need is cultural competence. And as a Hispanic, you already have part of that. Services, okay? And these services are not gimmicks. They are not gifts. They are services needed to integrate the people into the fabric of our society. Nobody's asking for gimmicks. English language, they don't want to learn English. How many of you know of kids born and raised in Missouri that do not speak English? I don't know any. Not one. Every kid born and raised in Missouri speaks perfectly good English. Well, with all the Missouri things, but and they speak Spanish too. So they speak two languages. That's good, isn't it? So all those measures about, English, forget what this state did 150 years ago. What happened yesterday? It was the anniversary of what?
Civil War.
Okay. Do you know that when Missouri was discussing the Civil War issues just before the opening of the hostilities in Jefferson City, most of the documentation was printed in English and German? Do you know that there were more German language newspapers and English language newspapers in many areas of the state? Did you know that Germans did not acquire English as fast as Hispanics are acquiring English today? You didn't know that? That's okay. We don't know the history.
That's why we invited you to tell us.
No, but those are things that we have to understand. There's nothing new, nothing, it's not good or bad, it is. So, okay, this I already said, and this is what I say to my students. Cultural competency and language competency are very important. They are an asset. Today they pay more to people that speak Spanish. And English, of course. I do have the child of a really good friend who, his mother is Hispanic, but the father is Norwegian, and a Norwegian descent, and so he doesn't have any Spanish name, but he's being paid 50% bonus in Kansas City, in the hospital. He's doing his internship, whatever it's called in medicine. He's being paid 50% more because he's bilingual. Doctor. Makes sense. So I will keep going. That's what I just said, of course. And that's an advantage. And we have to exploit that advantage. We have to we have to make that thing. And this is my commercial. In 2002, we started doing a conference very modestly for Latinos in Missouri. And it is basically a conference about immigrants and integration of immigrants. It has always been like that, and it continues to be like that. And we will have the 10th annual conference now in Kansas City, June 8 to 10. Okay, if you want more information, you can go to, if you speak Spanish, cambiodecolores.org, and if you don't speak Spanish, you can go to latinosintheheartland.com. And this conference is bringing this year, we're making a special event, and we have called the conference from in the Midwest region and also in the Southern region. There is a coalition of land-grant universities in the South, but they call themselves the New Hispanic South, the East Hispanic. And they are going to bring presentations about entrepreneurship, education, and so on and so forth. So we do have a good lineup for the conference. You are welcome to come, of course. Previous payment of registration, or and if any of you has an interest in showing your wares for sponsorships, please let me know. I am very bad at asking for money. I am really bad at that. So I need your help in that respect. So, these are the websites. This is the Cambio Center. Cambio, for those that don't speak Spanish, means change. Our center is more interested about community change than about any specific ethnicity or individuals. Okay, we are interested in communities that change. And then you have Cambio de Colores and latinosintheheartland.com. And muchas gracias, muito obrigado, thank you very much.
Okay. It is past 8, but we can entertain maybe 2 short questions, meaning ask the question, don't comment a lot, okay? So, yes, Karen.
I'm not sure this will get me a short answer, but your research on the receiving communities, and can you just talk a little bit about how that happens?
Yeah, we're just starting. The Cambio Center at the University of Missouri received a grant from USDA in 2006 to do research on assets, all kinds of asset accumulation in immigrants in rural Missouri. So we did a 4-year research program that was, instead of researching what the immigrant lacks, we were more interested about what the immigrant brings. Okay, that's what we call assets. All kinds of assets, cultural assets, labor assets, educational assets. Immigrant, for instance, and this is something I put as an example always. When you ask a person, let's assume, I'm going to put a general thing, from East LA, okay? A Hispanic person that lives there and has one of those fancy cars and all that, and you ask him, how's life treating you? They will say, this is a mess, they don't have stuff for us, Chicanos or whatever. You may have that reaction. if you go to talk to a person in, let's say, Monet, Missouri, an immigrant that has no documents, perhaps, okay, and he's way below the poverty level, and you ask the individual, how do you feel about this coming here? Oh, I feel great. You know, my kids are having good education. I'm raising them in a place where there is no danger of cancer or anything like that. So I feel that I'm going up. Okay? So those are the things that we want to understand. And if we don't allow this energy to manifest itself into risk-taking, because there's nobody will take more risks than the immigrant. The immigrant is a built-in risk-taker by definition. Nobody leaves the little town where they come from just because of it, because they want to improve. And if we put barriers and obstacles for them, we are really shooting ourselves in the feet. So we finished that project in September of last year, but in July we already submitted a second. These are financed by USDA. There's a research in improvement of rural communities. So, but we know that you cannot understand the process of integration if you don't understand the receiving community as well. So we submitted another proposal to USDA back in July, and it was granted to do a 3-year research project that is specifically about integration. But it is a lot of one-to-one conversations with both. In this case, it will be with both the immigrants and the members of the receiving community in a safe, in a place in which they do know that the information they give won't allow, is not personally identifiable or anything like that. It's a research process. It has all the research protections that individuals require, so we can get a true answer. So that is just started just in February. We're in paperwork now. Field work will start now in June.
I continue to be concerned about Missouri as a state and the less than welcoming attitude that many people, particularly our legislators, have about immigrants, particularly Hispanics. And what I find is if there's, there can be a half empty or a half full kind of a glass approach to it. And I'm concerned, for instance, that a lot of people who are negative about Hispanics, for instance, in small towns, oh, they're overrunning our schools, oh, they're this and that, they don't speak English. But they don't look at the other side of it. I did an orientation for a bank system here in St. Louis recently. They had managers come in from all over Missouri, from small town banks and stuff, to talk about cultural issues. And a couple of the managers said, our bank would not have a branch there anymore, and so the people who are native born in the community would suffer also. That there wouldn't be a grocery store because there's not enough volume to be able to manage it in some of these small towns. That the school may be 50% Spanish speakers, but how much further would the white kids that are in that school have to be bused if that school didn't exist? That there is an attitude of they're a burden without realizing that there is value on the other side. And what kind of messages can we tool at this point to help begin to help our legislators understand the value, not just the quote-unquote burden of having non-native English speakers?
I am not an advocate, and I have never intended to be one. I am very bad at advocating, but I am very good at questioning. So, and now that I decided to become a citizen a few years ago, because it was my right to become a citizen. I didn't take it as a privilege. I took it as a right that I had acquired and some obligations that I had now as a citizen. I decided to be proactive in asking questions, not giving opinions. So when I had and this is not, I'm talking as a citizen, not as an employee of the state of Missouri, because University of Missouri people are employees of the state of Missouri. But when I see that somebody throws information about, the cost that illegal immigration is bringing to Missouri, I raise my hand and I ask, as a taxpayer, I would like to know how much is that cost, the net cost.
net cost. That's
Yes.
the big difference.
Yes,
If they
yes,
don't look at
yes.
the other side,
Yes,
they're
no,
not
I
looking at
asked
the
them,
value.
I asked that, and I asked that truly, knowing that the information does not exist, not that the legislator doesn't know it. You cannot know what it does not exist. Nobody knows. When they say that they are overrunning our schools, I ask, show me how many numbers. I mean, what is happening? What you say, actually, you will find in every small community, actually, people are more, they see the evidence of the contribution of immigrants to small towns. More than in the big city, actually.
You mean the people?
Yeah.
Says,
Yeah, they do realize that because the trickle down is just right there. Even though there is some blindness to the very existence of immigrants. I have a friend that always tells a story about being in Milan, Missouri, a community near Kirksville, north part of Missouri, talking with a member of a long-standing resident there in front of the Mexican shop. Okay, they were talking there, and he asked, so what about business? In which business do you have in this community? Well, we do have the gas station, but it's a little out there. They have some groceries, but we actually don't have any shops here. In front of the Mexican market. So they are invisible because they are not what we think about as businesses. But then you see how many, and you talk with the little chambers of commerce, and you see how important the immigrants have been in the revival of main streets in small towns, renting, creating businesses. I mean, there's nothing new about that. Everywhere in history where you have immigrants coming, you will have the creation of wealth. It's always been like that. It will always be like that. They take risks, and they only look up. I guess that people.
I want to make a comment about the part that you said that don't be proud of being Hispanic. I almost had a heart attack. But I think that's the part. That's your opinion, yeah. But I don't share it, because if we are not proud of who we are, and that's why all these people that were German immigrant children forgot about their ancestors. And they forgot.
They didn't forget.
They forgot that they came from immigrants, as all of us had come. If we don't teach our kids about our own heritage, and I had a problem with my own children, they don't want to speak Spanish, they don't want to this and that, but we have to. Miss Maria is Miss Maria's son. He is so proud to be Hispanic, and he was born here in the United States.
Yeah, but that's when he grew up.
No, but
yeah, when he grew up, but if we don't teach them
we can argue this.
Yeah, we can
forever,
continue talking this at either of
No, but just to close it, I guess that pride is one thing, and the other thing is to be sure that who you are. I have two kids, born and raised in Missouri, in Columbia, Missouri.
Yes.
You know, that's huge Hispanic community. Both kids are bilingual. Both kids are desperate to have an Inca Cola once in a while, and I have to procure that for them, which is a Peruvian soda, you know. And they like ceviche, and they like to go to the beaches and all that. And that's it. They love everything.
Because you taught them.
Yeah, but I didn't tell them be proud of being Peruvian. No.
And on that note, gracias. Was this thought-provoking or what? Thank you, Domingo.
Sometimes it skips a generation.
Excuse me?
Sometimes it skips a generation. My daughter is the first one in our family to speak German since my great-grandfather came here.
Good.
There you go. Siga hablando. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming, and very thought-provoking. And the thing is that we have to look behind the numbers. We're going to go very fast with short announcements because it's already 8:15 and we're supposed to be out of here at 8 o'clock. So let's start here and just go around. No? You got something to say?
I do. Very quick.
quickly. The Multicultural Task Force gives grants to teachers for programs and projects that promote diversity in their schools. I have applications here, so if you're a teacher or know a teacher, okay.
What does that mean?
Is that for public and private?
Public, private, K through 12, St. Louis area, so East Side,
What does that
St.
mean?
Louis, St. Louis County.
What does that mean?
It means that if a teacher wants money to promote a diversity project in their school, they can apply for a grant.
Okay, how much?
They're up to $500. They're small grants. Generally, small grants. Okay? Second thing, there's going to be a seminar on May 20th at Wells Fargo for teachers and administrators to learn more about diversity programs and resources in the St. Louis region that address issues of racism and hate and bullying and so forth. And it's sponsored by all these diversity organizations. So I have some of those if you're interested. And the last thing is just a very quick announcement that there has been a not very well publicized but very important move in the state legislature to weaken the Missouri Human Rights Act, which is the Missouri's Anti-Discrimination Act. And it probably will, in fact, pass the House and the Senate and will land on the governor's desk. And whether he will veto it or not will depend on whether he believes that he can sustain a veto. So if this is something that you're interested in, you should be contacting your representatives and the governor.
Can you tell them what the bill number is and who to call?
It's Senate Bill 118 and House Bill 205.
So what?
188, I'm sorry, 188.
Okay. Other announcements here. Stephen?
Announcement. If anybody is interested in attending the public hearings when it comes to redistricting, the first one is taking place on April 28th at 9 a.m. in Jeff City. And the one that's going to take place here in St. Louis is going to be May 25th. But at this time, Joe Maxwell, the ex-lieutenant governor, has not had a location yet, but when I find out, my email is on the list. Send me all the emails, and when the information comes to me, I'll run it by you so that everybody stays updated about these redistricting meetings, public hearings coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Anini?
I just want to ask everyone to please write in your calendars that the upcoming festivals is going to be, the one in June is Fiesta in Florida, and here's my new mayor. It's going to be 24th and 25th of June at the Night at Columbus Park.
Spend lots of money in Florida.
And then the second one is going to be the Greater San Luis Hispanic Festival, and it's going to be at Soldiers Memorial Park downtown, that many of you already been there. And it's going to be 16, 17, and 18 of September. The 17th of September, we're going to commemorate the National Hispanic Month, and we're going to have like a little parade. Everybody's invited. You can come and, bring your costume or bring anything, whatever country heritage you have. We got a parade marshal, Mr. Gilbert, so you'll be going with him. And then also, many of us have forgotten that senior people have done a lot of work in the Hispanic community and many times were not recognized. So we started this 2 years ago, recognizing to senior people who had accomplished something with our community. So a letter is going to come out. If you know anybody who is a Hispanic, had worked very hard in the community, had accomplished that, please let us know, because we want to have 1 or 2 or 3 at the stakes that day and recognize them and show them, that we appreciate that. Because like me, I'm old now, and then we see younger generations.
You are?
Yeah. So that's what, we want to make sure. And many dignitaries have been already invited for the September one. We want to make sure we all are together. This be a harmonious day, a beautiful day, festive day. All of you will get invitations. We're going to continue pumping. We're going to every place we can to let them know, especially to recognize that senior person. That is very important.
Thank you.
So when you send that out, we'll have we can nominate somebody?
Whoever you think,
Okay.
yes.
Okay,
but you're not old enough.
It will be guidelines, yeah.
Thank
Announcements.
you. I have one more announcement. The Tuesday afternoon business roundtable is a referral kind of meeting which we have here in the boardroom, and the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce has been so kind to loan us the boardroom to do that. We're looking for professionals in, like a real estate agent, a banker, an investment, financial investor that would come to this meeting and pick up referrals from us. It's a referral networking group. So we're looking for those small businesses and professionals that work for themselves, accountants, and that kind of small business to join us. We've already been passing some referrals out, and yo tengo un poquito más dinero because of the meeting.
Tuesday, what time?
Tuesday, 4 o'clock. Just show up every Tuesday, 4 o'clock in that conference room.
Okay.
It's no dues, no fees, nothing.
I just want to make a comment that 5 years ago when I was elected to the City of Portsmouth Council, Hanini was part of the group that I belonged to the Hispanic group at the time, and she was instrumental in helping me and my friends that are still helping her today and helped me get elected as well. So I just want to make that comment that I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Would like to make a comment and recommend that in the future that the Hispanic Leadership Group hold a forum to talk about how bills actually become law and how they reach the governor, so that you can be clear on who introduces bills, how they travel to different committees. And I know you have one legislator that probably would be willing to do some type of education on that, and that's Maria Chappelle Nadal. But I just think that's very important because I think that process needs to be known.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Schedule. Maria Teresa.
One last thing, I want all of us to be aware that we have Casa de Salud to provide basic, episodic type care for everyone, especially Hispanic immigrants. So the health of our community, extremely, extremely important. A welcoming place where we can basically provide that basic care and refer them minimal sliding scale type contribution if they are able to. Please, that's not in any way the measure to get good quality care. But spread the word because we want our kids to be well taken care of, and also our families and our workers. Okay?
Anna.
Well, Senator, we just had our annual infusion of cash for our small business development loans at the International Institute. And so we are able to lend up to $35,000 for business startups. We're looking for Hispanics and other minorities in the community who have good ideas, but perhaps not the collateral or credit scores that enable them to be able to get traditional bank loans. If there's somebody you know of who has a good idea of the beginning of a business plan but needs help completing it and putting together a loan in a package, then they should call the International Institute and ask for our small business development staff.
Thank you.
So good health and good business.
And on that note, mark your calendar, the second Wednesday of June. June the 8th is going to be our next meeting. You will all be informed about it. Thank you for coming. Gracias to the Hispanic Chamber of
El 21, mamá. Thursday, mamá.
Dale un chequecito, ¿por qué no le saca el cheque y se lo hacen en blanco?